Hi, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Health by M, the podcast. In this week's episode, I want to share something I'm very passionate about and something that I love to do, and that is watching health documentaries. And I want to share my 4 favorite ones that I watched many times, some for several years, some are quite new. And to be honest, I just think it's so much fun to watch these kind of series and documentaries. I really find it enjoyable, not just educational, but I really do think it's a great way to learn more, get more inspiration and motivation around health and wellness. So, yeah, I just want to share some documentaries and series that I can highly recommend because of various reasons. So, that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to list the 4 favorite ones that I have and talk a little bit about what they are about, what I thought of them, some key takeaways, and just some interesting facts without really spoiling anything. But yeah, I hope you will like it, maybe find some tips and inspiration. So here we go. So the first documentary I want to recommend is called Heal. And I've been watching this so many times, like over several years. It's one of my favorite documentaries and things even to watch. I have found it on Apple TV and Amazon Prime. I believe it used to be available on Netflix, but unfortunately it's not anymore. So yeah, Apple TV, and you can both buy it and rent it there, or you can also find it on Amazon Prime TV. And in this documentary, we get to follow director Kelly Nonan Gores, where she meets people like Deepak Chopra, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Marianne Williamson, the medical medium Anthony William, Peter Crone, and many other big names within holistic health, but also people with various diseases in the documentary. And we get to learn how they have used alternative methods to heal their different health conditions. And the documentary is basically about how thoughts, emotions, and beliefs have a huge impact on our overall health and our ability to heal. It talks about stress, the immune system, alternative medicine, drugs, releasing trauma, and much more. And I just think it's very inspiring and eye-opening because you really get a great understanding for how powerful the mind actually is. And as you know, I'm very interested in the mind since I work with hypnosis. So yeah, I just love this documentary. And I also like that you get to see interviews from so many incredible professionals mixed with the stories from these people suffering from mysterious skin conditions, cancer, and so on. And it talks about how many people all over the world that have been able to heal health conditions that were considered incurable and pretty much impossible to heal. And something that I think is very interesting as well about this is that they have found 9 things that these people have done when it comes to their lifestyle and so on. So they have made these 9 changes to their lives, and these are radically changing their diet, taking control of their health, following their intuition, using herbs and supplements, releasing suppressed emotions, increasing positive emotions, embracing social support, deepening their spiritual connection, and have a strong reason for living. And what's also super interesting, in my opinion, with this is that only 2 out of these 9 points are physical. So they are changing the diet and using herbs and supplements. The rest of these key factors are mental, emotional, and spiritual. So yeah, I just think that's an interesting key takeaway from this documentary. And moreover, 2 other great points that they make in this documentary is that they really believe medicine does miracles, and they do not suggest that we should rely on herbs and our spiritual connection if we get really sick. They talk about these alternative methods as great additions and ways to prevent illness. And I think that is very important to just mention when talking about alternative methods and how they can be such great additions to Western medicine. And then another interesting factor they highlight in the documentary, which I think is interesting and also shows how important it is to look at health from a holistic point of view. is that health is so much more than diet and exercise. The mental, emotional, and spiritual part is so important too. And they talk about this, how someone who seems to be super healthy and living the healthiest life on the outside works out, goes to yoga, drinks juices and so on, but still got cancer, and how come? So yeah, this documentary is so interesting and inspiring in my opinion. I can highly recommend it, and there is actually a book too. It's unfortunately not a deep dive into these topics that the documentary covers, but rather a summary and almost like a little ad for the actual documentary, in my opinion. So I honestly prefer the documentary, and I hope there will be a book with a little bit more depth and information, maybe sometimes in the future. All right, the second documentary is Live to 100, The Secrets of the Blue Zones, which you can find on Netflix. This is a series where we get to follow explorer and author Dan Buettner. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, I'm sorry, but yeah, his name is Dan. And he travels to the 5 blue zones all over the world, which are Ikaria in Greece, Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, and Loma Linda in California, US. And the unique thing about these places is that people here live extraordinarily long and vibrant lives. And he meets with these people who are close to or even over 100 years old, but they're active, healthy, and pretty much seem like they're 20 to 30 years younger than what they actually are. He explores what these places and communities of people have in common and lists certain factors that he suggests be the key components to these long and healthy lives. They go over these in the series, and at the end, they have created a summary of 12 key factors within 4 different categories. And these are outlook, where we have unwind, faith and purpose, eat wisely, which is plant-based, wine and moderation, connection or connect, which is family first, partnership, and right tribe. And then there is move naturally, where we have walk, by hand, and garden. And this is basically a summary of some factors that he could see in all these 5 places that people really focused on and that really seem to help their longevity and overall health. And what I think is really interesting as well that they showed in this documentary is how much of a role community and socializing play in our lives. And it was so beautiful to see how many people in these communities came together and helped each other, supported with money, housing, and other type of care. And yeah, that was just really eye-opening to me, because I think it's something that sometimes is forgotten in today's world. We kind of, want to be independent and just be on our own in a way. But this documentary really shows that being a part of something bigger, as like a community, or just having a great tribe of friends and family, that's so important and so essential that it actually helps us to live longer. I mean, that's at least what the documentary suggests. So that was a very interesting point, I think. And I also think it was fascinating to see how much natural exercise they got in their everyday lives, such as walking upstairs, sitting on the floor, and so on. I mean, these people, they just moved, like in their gardens, they worked using their hands and body, and that really reminded me of that it's so important to have these simple everyday movements that eventually add up and that makes such a difference in your life. And if you want to dive deeper into this topic, there is lots of information about the blue zones. You can find books, TED Talks, and so much more. So definitely check this out if you want to know more. I just wanted to quickly interrupt this episode to share an offer from IIN, the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, which is the holistic health coaching school that I am an ambassador for. And if you use the code Mathilde Vergeland 20, and sign up to any of the courses you find within IIN. So not only the health coaching program, before February 14th, you get 45% off tuition, which is an incredible discount. And enrolling at IIN was without doubt one of the best decisions ever in my life. And I'm forever thankful for the knowledge the school has given me and all the things that I learned. I had so much fun. It really kickstarted my career within health and wellness, and it's basically the reason why I founded Health by M. So if you have been thinking of signing up, this is definitely a sign to do it now to be able to use this amazing discount and offer. And you find the link to a free sample class and more, as well as the exact code in this episode's show notes. Then I also just want to share my discount code with my all-time favorite wellness brand, Sakara. You find their amazing meal programs, which are absolutely incredible, on their site. I wish they were able to deliver this food all over the world because it's just so good and it makes healthy eating so easy. With over 170 different plant ingredients in each week's menus, all organic ingredients, and with creative, unique, and delicious meals, I think it's a must to try any of their programs if you want to treat yourself with some healthy and delicious food. And you also find other amazing wellness products from Sakara. My current favorite product at the moment is their amazing probiotic. And what I really love about these probiotics is that not only do they have 11 probiotic strains, but also prebiotic fiber, as well as digestive and systemic enzymes. This is amazing for our microbiome in the gut. It can help boost our immune system, help with digestion, and so much more. I also love Sakara's 10-serving packages of their metabolism super powder, as well as the protein and greens super powder. They are perfect when traveling, so I brought a few with me to Mexico now to use in my green smoothies and also in my adaptogenic chaga and chica roast lattes, which I drink instead of coffee. And if you are a new customer to Sakara and want to try any of these products or the meal programs, you can use the code XOHealthByM and shop through the link I provided in this episode's show notes, and you will get 20% off. And by using this code, you also help support Health by M and this podcast as we earn commission. All right, now let's go back to the episode. Then another favorite series that is relatively new on Netflix is You Are What You Eat, a twin experiment. And in this one, you get to follow a study where they give identical twins 2 different diets. One is vegan and one includes meat. And then they follow these twins as they eat the food, exercise, and just go on living their daily lives, and to see how different diets affect the body fat, lean mass, and so on. And then at the end of the study, they find out that the twins on the vegan diet were biologically younger than the twins on the omnivorous diet, which suggests that plant-based foods may be able to reverse cellular aging. Hence, that it's more about the greens and not your genes. In addition, this series talks about gut health and how important that is for our overall health. And it also talks about how much control and power we actually have when it comes to our overall well-being. And even though this series is inspiring, I would say it's more motivational and doesn't really romanticize anything, so to speak. It is actually a bit alarming to watch, to be honest, and I can imagine many people find it really uncomfortable to watch, especially when we learn about the things the series shows about the food system and the things that we actually put in our bodies. For example, we get to see some really concerning and even horrible information and facts about the food industry. Millions of people in the US struggle to access fresh fruits and vegetables, and the food system is destroying the planet through deforestation and habitat destruction. In addition, the documentary also talks about the ethical and safety implications of the food industry and shows some really terrifying conditions for farm-raised salmons as well as chicken farms and so on. And they show that cage-free labeled chicken products doesn't necessarily mean that the bird has been able to be raised outside, but just that it's not inside a cage. So it can still be living inside with thousands of other birds under really horrible conditions. So yeah, this actually made me not like eat chicken. I don't eat red meats, but I do eat fish and chicken. But I have been very, very just, you know, picky about the foods that I eat, and I always check now when I eat salmon. I mean, I always done that actually because I think it's so important. And I watched another documentary years ago. I don't know which one it was, but it just talked about these farm-raised salmons and how horrible that was, and that just made me go like, oh God, I can't eat a fish that isn't wild caught, because it was just horrible to see. I mean, it's no point eating salmon and trying to eat a healthy fish if you eat it farm raised, because it's just, yeah, it's terrible. And also just knowing the conditions that these animals have to endure is just, no, I can't. And with chicken now, I have only had it maybe once or twice since I saw this documentary. And I made sure that it was organic from a small farm, because I just think it's so horrible when you hear about these horrible things that these animals have to go through just because we humans want to eat something good. So yeah, that was something that really made me think a little bit more. And I think, like I said, it can definitely make many people uncomfortable, because I think this is something we really don't want to look at. We just want to go to the supermarket, buy our regular foods and products, and then move on with our lives and eat what we want. But this documentary really makes you think, and yeah, just think twice and reflect on what you are doing to both your body and the planet, including all the animals. And there's also a little experiment when they track how bacteria from a raw chicken breast is spread in a kitchen. That's also fun, but a little scary to watch. So yeah, I'm not going to say anything else about it. You'll have to see it yourself. But that's also a little, reminder and something that makes you think. However, one part of the series that I did find so inspiring, though, is how this incredible restaurant called 11 Madison Park in New York changed their whole menu. They used to be a Michelin-starred restaurant, and they went from a regular, like, fine dining menu, including all kinds of meat, to 100% plant-based menu. They actually managed to keep their stars, and they were able to create healthier food for both humans and our planet. And listening to the chef there, Daniel Hum, was so inspiring. And going to this restaurant next time I'm in New York is definitely on my bucket list. So make sure to watch that part of the series. It was so inspiring. And yeah, make sure to check this restaurant out if you're in New York, because it just seems incredible. Then, last but definitely not least, my other favorite health docuseries is Limitless with Chris Hemsworth on Disney+. So this Australian actor goes on a quest to try different, quite extreme activities in order to seek longevity, basically to find ways to live longer and healthier. And in this series, he goes to northern Norway and swim in really like freezing ice cold water. He fasts for 4 days and then has to catch his own meal of fish when he's up the coast in Australia. He goes into the wild to meet with an indigenous tribe and navigate through the wilderness without a map, GPS, or phone. He climbs up a 300-meter long rope. He lives a few days at a staged retirement home and much more. And I absolutely love this documentary, and I get so inspired every time I watch it. Obviously, Chris is a very health-conscious guy and works out a lot, especially for his film roles like Thor and so on. But it's also really interesting to see how they also explore these other aspects of health in this series. When making this documentary, he actually finds out that he has a certain gene that increases his risk of getting Alzheimer's by up to 8 or 10 times more than the average person. So that is also why he explores these different activities to find ways to cope with stress, optimize digestion, sleep better, and so on, in order to just improve his overall health. So yeah, this is another must-watch that is really inspiring, but also contains a lot of interesting facts. So it's really educational as well. You also find a great podcast episode between Chris Hemsworth and Dr. Peter Attia, who's also in the documentary. And it's really fun to listen to or watch on YouTube when you have gone through the whole series and episodes. So these were just my 4 favorite health series and documentaries at the moment. I hope you got some inspiration and tips from this. And like always, if you know someone who you think might like these tips and wants to hear more about these documentaries, please send this episode to that person. And also, I always get so happy when you leave ratings and reviews on the podcast. So thank you so much for that. And if you haven't yet, you can do that on iTunes when you go to the show there. All right, take care and have a lovely rest of your day.